necessarily attaching it to science would not necessarily be correct, in my opinion. And that's like a very strict definition, which like is going to make us change like quite a lot of like ways of speaking
No, see, but
uncomfortably.
you can use the scientific method to investigate that phenomenon. So, say for example, what we were talking
True,
about
true.
earlier, that
We don't disagree about that. Like our point is different, Lanus. We're speaking of like philosophy isn't real. What's the definition of real? This person said that real is what science is. Okay,
okay,
sure.
that's a bad definition, right? You guys
I
can continue.
know,
I'll shut
I
up.
know. But so, what is real, Mr. Slave? Or I can give you definition, and you might accept it or might not, and critique it.
I but but I gave you my my best definition. I mean, if it's real,
Okay, how about this? Maybe you haven't formalized the definition, and let me give you a formalized version. If you agree with it, tell me. If you don't agree with it, tell me, and we can move on.
okay.
Okay?
What?
Real is what corresponds to reality.
No, that's circular, isn't it? That's like circular.
It's not.
Same root.
How is it circular?
I mean,
Yeah, that is circular
real.
because reality is everything in real life. Anything that is real, qualifying as everything that is real, as everything that is within what is real, is circular on its own.
I didn't define like a reality with like real inside. If you wanted to ask me the definition, that would be wonderful.
No, but
Reality would be defined as set of all things.
but look, reality and real
It's the set
sound.
of
It sounds like they come from.
Holy
is-
shit! One by one, please.
It sounds like they come from the same root. So it's like a circular. It's close to a circular. It's too close for me. That I have to say it's circular.
Look, so circular is just because it's A, then it's B. Just because it's B, then it's A, then it's B, then it's A. That's like circular.
There's no.
How is it that in
if
this
you're
case?
defining,
I,
if
you're
you're
not.
defining reality as the set.
You're not adding information when you're telling.
Go ahead, Lanus.
Okay, so if you're defining reality as the set of all things, okay, I agree that your definition is not circular. It's just trivially true. If reality is the set of all
Exactly.
things, which means anything that I can think of is reality. If unicorns that exist in fields of lollipops are reality by your
Exactly.
definition.
Exact in your mind, right? They are true in your mind. They are real. Like
Yeah,
you,
just
when
kind
you're
of
like
defined it out of
imagining,
existence at this
when
point.
you're
It's kinda
imagining,
like I've
no, no,
lived
no,
it.
no, no, Jack. Like the fact that you have trouble understanding,
like it's
it's
being
like
done.
let me explain. Okay, so you have this character of like not agreeing with something when you don't understand that something. Let me say something like first. So let's say that you see right now a field in front of you. Let's say we both agree that it is real, Lanus.
Mhm.
And then you're imagining that this there is a unicorn walking through this field. Does that mean that we are speaking or we have like we're debating about the same field?
Before we
I'm
continue.
not following. So
Yeah, can I
Okay.
just interrupt?
So
Can I please just interrupt just before everything? So
No.
all right. Anyway, look, I asked to debate.
interrupt. Go ahead.
Yeah, I asked to debate. I asked to debate it. So I expect it to be more or less one-on-one. I don't have problems with people interjecting, but in general, I'd rather have you and me resolve this.
We cannot have one-on-one in this room. This is kind of an open room. It would be like asshole-ish to
No,
exclude everybody from the
No.
conversation.
no, I'm not excluding anybody. I'm saying everybody can interject, but in
One-on-one is excluding anybody but these two people.
No. I'm not. I'm explicitly not excluding anyone. Just the opposite. I welcome interjection. I just want to always try and get back to one-on-one, me and you. We can always accept anyone's input, and anyone can help either side and ask questions and interrupt. But I'd like to return always to me and you, if you don't mind. That's what I thought we were doing. I said I offered to debate this position. So
Okay, Mr. Slave, that's fine. Look, so if it is the case that you're saying that philosophy is not scientific, then by definition it would be true. So if saying that like philosophy isn't real, this just means that like philosophy is not scientific, right? By definition, that would be true
wouldn't-
because even science, the core of the science is philosophy. So by definition, science would not be. Philosophy is not going to be scientific because like philosophy precedes science.
Okay, I do agree with that proposition. If those are your definitions, I agree with the proposition that philosophy isn't real if we're defining real as scientific, but that's not.
Yeah,
how
that
I
would be
like to-
retarded, right?
Why would it be
Yeah,
retarded?
it makes no sense.
Why would it make no sense? I think it disqualifies most of philosophy, and I think it's very important to understand most of philosophy.
No, all the philosophy would be okay.
Fine.
So
I mean,
all
yeah.
the philosophy would be
Fine.
excluded
Fine.
with that definition because
Yeah.
yeah. So all
It's very-
the like philosophy
very-
would be.
It's very powerful.
Why are you chirping? Why are you chirping? What I'm trying to say is okay.
What do you mean,
Dude, come on, like let me finish. Fine. Yes, when you're saying like that, let me finish up something and then you can go. So if you're going to take the definition such as that, then philosophy will not be real. But like colloquially, that would not make sense, and that would be like colloquially retarded. Like if we're going to take that philosophy isn't real, of course it's real. Like philosophy is just like a set way or set rules of like exploring everything and understanding everything, and then like theorizing or like many schools of thought that goes into like philosophy. Which one of the schools of thought that goes into philosophy would be scientific philosophy, where all the science is literally core of the whole science is going to be philosophy. And if you did not have philosophy, you would not have science. Like literally, you would not have science.
So if I understand what you're saying that philosophy is not scientific. That's all you're saying.
Yeah, basically, that's what he's saying. Yeah.
Okay, I agree that philosophy is not scientific. I would say that they're both they exist in parallel. Philosophy is a separate sort of system of knowing, and science is a separate system of knowing.
No.
I
they're
don't think
different.
that's actually the point of the room.
Yeah, it's not. That's why I was saying.
It's more
like,
of like showing that like philosophy has no basis in like proving things, and the point of the room is like a little clickbaity from what I understood, but it's to get across
Yeah,
a
it
point
is.
and a conversation about the fact that philosophy doesn't bring you to the answer. Philosophy helps you understand an answer.
No.
that would be false.
Philosophy is completely.
That would be
there-
false.
there
Actually,
is no-
philosophy.
There is no
Philosophy
philosophy
brings
that can
us-
bring you to a justified conclusion.
Yes,
Okay,
there is.
can we clarify?
Okay, how about this? How about this?
That's kind of the point.
How
of the
about
room.
this? How about this? I'll tell you exactly how it can. So when you're saying that Jesus Christ exists, which is like three persons, blah 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 blah, right? And that is the truth in reality. Like philosophy can actually get you to the point saying you that no, that's definitely not the truth. Like it has zero chance of like zero probability for it being true.
Wait. Science can tell you if Jesus existed, if Jesus. And
We're
so
not
on.
speaking of science. We're not speaking of science. We're speaking of
So
philosophy.
philosophy.
You just brought it up.
So philosophy.
No, I didn't. You brought it
No,
up.
fine,
So you
fine.
said that like
That's
philosophy
gaslighting.
is
No,
not.
you're the one who said it.
No.
Wait.
You brought
I
brought
let
up
you
that
talk for a
philosophy
long
cannot.
time.
Jack Smiles, you brought up that like philosophy cannot get you to a conclusion.
Yeah, I didn't bring up science in there.
Yeah, I brought up science.
Exactly.
I did. My fault. So,
So
science.
we're not speaking of science here.
Fine. So,
Yeah, so
fine.
I'm not the one who brought up the science.
Yeah, I
but-
did.
But gaslighting
My
people.
fault. My fault.
True. I'm not gaslighting you. What the fuck? That's what I'm saying.
Okay, George.
Are you following?
Let's keep it. That's why it's good to try and have it one-on-one. If people have questions, we can answer questions.
There's no one-on-one to be. We already
going-
agreed
it's
that
going
with
to be
your
a-
definition,
going to
it is true what you're saying.
It's very messy if we don't try to have one. Look, we can make it short. We can finish the debate quickly.
Mr. Slave,
Yeah.
we already agreed with the definitions that you're taking. That statement is true. There is no debate to be had. Cool.
Is math philosophy?
Holy shit. Okay, so Jackie.
I mean, there's, I think there's
So-
a philosophy to math, but I don't think math itself is philosophy.
If math is
Actually, math is philosophy. Yes, it is a dedicated set
no, it's
set of
not.
linguistic.
math.
Yes, math is language.
No, math is math.
Oh, it's just bunch of definitions.
Math
my
has a
friend.
language.
Would
Math
you say
has
one-
a language,
one-
but it is
would you
not
s-
in itself language.
so would you say 1 + 1 = 2 is true?
Math is like 100% philosophical.
So 1 + 1 = 2. Is it a true statement?
That's a definition. Yes, that's a definitionally true statement.
What do you mean definitionally?
That is
It's defined that way.
pure asinine garbage.
Which is garbage?
I mean, it's sophistry. I mean, it's true, but
What is sophistry? I'm asking.
What's sophistry?
Yeah, I'm
Am I being sophist, Lanus?
I think sophistry is like the. I don't.
no,
know
Lanus,
what?
am I being
I'm
the sophist
just
here?
gonna say I don't know what it is because if I try to say what it is, I think I'm gonna be wrong. So I'm more confident in saying I don't know.
wait.
That's
what?
fine. So, Lanus, do you think that what I was saying is sophistry?
okay, I might have used the wrong word there. But what I mean to say is, what do you mean when you say something is philosophical? What do you mean to say when you say something is
It follows the way of philosophy, and like literally, it is philosophy itself, right? It's like so generally, if we're going to take like what philosophy is, right, it's going to be like many schools of thought, right? Are we correct here? Okay, so
mean-
if it's many schools of thought, it's going to be ontology, like epistemics, etc. Blah 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 blah. Math is going to be the same thing there. Like it's going to be like at first it's going to be semantics because it's like inherently linguistic, and then it's going to use the inference, philosophical inference, right, in order to get from like a bunch of like linguistic, let's say, terms to another, right? Like you to like get to some sort of a conclusion. It's going to be like 100% philosophical math itself.
George, can I interject and ask a very?
Go ahead.
All right. So, would you say that math is scientific?
No,
So we cannot verify that 1 + 1 = 2 scientifically?
no, I didn't say that. What I'm saying is that math itself is not scientific because
Yeah, because
you remember? Yeah, math is math. Previously, when we were speaking, like
Well, now
why
you
not
agree with
why philosophy is not like scientific, because it is the core of philosophy, right? The same way goes for math. It's the core of science. So by definition, it is not scientific
Could you?
because by itself there is no category of like science without math.
So here is my insight. Here's my revelation that math is scientific, right? So how is math different than any science? Right? We observe the world.
Because any science uses math.
Yeah, different sciences use each other. Math is just another
Holy
branch of
shit.
science.
What?
Yeah, that's my deepest revelation. Math is a theory. It's a scientific theory.
Alfredus, would you be willing to take over this conversation?
Okay. So the thing is, regardless of how or what sort of concepts of mathematics we have, fundamentally, if I have
Oh, there
two
he is.
pigs in one field and 3 pigs in the other field, then I have 5 pigs in total. Okay? Like fundamentally, that sort of thing is just true regardless of what societal conception of math we have. Do you agree with that?
Well, I mean, but before that, right?
Do you agree?
I
And do you agree that you don't need to know any science to understand that 2 pigs plus 3 pigs equals 5 pigs?
No, I disagree. Let me, before you are overwhelmed.
You disagree.
Yeah, let me explain. So you agree that as a brain in a vat, you have no conception of anything. You don't know what a field is. You don't know what a peg is. You wouldn't think 1 + 1 is 2 because you wouldn't think. You need to.
That
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
It
Hold
doesn't
on,
matter,
that doesn't
though.
matter.
So it's
That
not.
doesn't
because-
even if he's imagining like 2 fields
can't.
and 5
But
pigs.
You can't.
He can.
No, as a brain, a pure brain, before you interacted, before you experienced scientifically this universe, you didn't know that you couldn't conceive of objects. You
Mr. Slave, look, even if you're going to use hard solipsism and you're going to say that like that could be not real, right? And your brain in the vat imagining things. Even if
not-
those fields are your thoughts
that's not what I-
basically, right?
that's
Then it's still true that there are
not-
5 fucking
not-
pigs in your inception of like fields.
That's not what I said. That's not what I said. Now listen. So, as
No, that's what you said.
okay, I'll repeat.
Why am I interjecting? Alfredus, go back.
No, I don't mind if you want to like.
Yeah,
I don't want to. I don't want to. It's
So
just
this
like,
is this is extremely deep. I'm giving you my top-notch secrets. So
I don't
Okay,
think
it's
either of
extremely
those
deep
is
that-
separate.
We don't know that actually 2 pigs and 3 pigs makes 5 pigs. That's extremely deep.
that's your bias.
Top notch, guys. Top notch.
That's your. We've been biased. We have experienced this universe scientifically. So for us,
Okay.
it's second nature to say 1 + 1 is 2 because we got used to it since we were fetuses. We started observing objects and such. But that's just scientific experience. So math is just a scientific theory.
Why are you calling it scientific?
Well, it's experiential. It's experimental. It's scientific.
Well, no. Just because you feel something or see something, that doesn't make it scientific.
I mean, so what's the difference?
Science is something that we as humans have developed as a way of quantifying the things we observe.
No.
And a way
Yeah,
of
but the whole
documenting
entire, like,
them.
you're forgetting that the entire
Stop the law.
epistemic foundations of this is inherently predicated on a view of the world that only stems like in contextualization to one's own sentiment, i.e., like how their interests formulate, and this
Wait, an
leads,
anime
of course,
theater.
to the correlative framework of like people's mental functions. Like that's just how that works evolutionarily, and of course, because of this, it's inherently predicated upon those first interests, and almost including feelings, but not limited
Yeah.
to, that we like come to the conclusions of objectivity in the world in the first place, rather than any form of logic. Logic is a secondary thing rather than a primary thing.
Yes, I agree with that. I would agree that actually what we experience and observe, that's the primary thing. The secondary thing would actually be like the culture and the
My
language and the
dopamine's
way
not
of
high.
viewing. Huh? Oh. Well, the secondary thing would be our culture or our language or way of viewing the world that's sort of taught to us by birth so that we can, like have concepts for these things. For example, knowing the word for a pig, knowing what a pig is. That's sort of cultural. And then the third thing would kind of be math, right? We learn how to count things and sort of develop them. Science is based on all 3 of those things. You need all 3 of those steps.
So Alfredus, let me try and I'll tell you what I think. I disagree in what you said. I think it's a fundamental disagreement. Science did not evolve. You could say that the scientific method and such, but science is just an attempt to formalize how humans or creatures learn to roam the world. It's just the experience. It's just a formalism. It's
Science is not a form. It's not.
Well-
It's not formalized.
it's a form.
Formalized has a very specific meaning.
Yes.
Specific meaning in this context.
Yeah,
Math is formalized.
yeah, but the scientific method is also it's a formalized what? It's the formalized process. But
It's formalized in a colloquial sense. I understand what you mean, and your word. I don't mean to really criticize your word usage. I'm just saying it can be confusing because formalized means a different thing in this specific context.
Yes.
Okay, so the scientific.
You're
method,
not really doing anything wrong.
Okay, I'm sorry. So
I'm just saying.
So I would say the scientific method evolved, and it's always evolving, and it's growing and terrific. But it's just an attempt to formalize how babies learn. Period. It's just
Okay, well,
it's a very, very intricate.
if you wanna
Hiwa,
if
we
you
need
want to
you.
call science just something intrinsic, then what is the field of science then, right?
I'm not sure what
That's-
the thesis that is, but what are you guys even saying?
Yeah, honestly, I don't even know what we're getting.
I don't
into
even know at this point. Like he rambles
No,
around.
at
Like
this
he wants
point,
to debate the
no.
topic, but he like jumps from one
No,
point to
I'll
another
clarify.
with like
But
logical
science-
connection.
I'll
So we
Science
need
is something
Hiwa.
that we humans created. It's
I'll
like
clarify.
this is my disagreement.
Okay, but I'll clarify where.
At one point, there was like, what is philosophy? What led into this combo?
So I'll clarify. I'll gladly clarify because this is my main thesis, one of my main theses in life today. So science is real, and philosophy is not. Philosophy is garbage in general.
What do you mean by real?
Real is scientific. We define real as scientific. So what is unscientific?
We did not define real as scientific. You did, and we did
I
not accept
did.
the definition.
But you proposed real is reality,
You're
and
just saying anything that isn't science isn't real.
Yeah.
exactly. If it doesn't,
Yeah.
then
It's
the
just
question.
gonna be.
But then the
so
question.
Awkward.
But then the question is, what is math?
Maybe it's an intentionally provocative title.
No,
you
no,
know,
no.
it's maybe
This is
do
a
it.
very deep insight. You can, if you want to talk
Is it-
about it.
Well, actually, the owner of the room.
You're
is
doing
Alfredo,
philosophy right now, bro. I don't know what you mean.
I
by
am
it's
the
not
owner.
real.
Yeah.
So he should define what it means.
Oh, I
that
see.
philosophy isn't
Okay.
real.
I'm only doing.
All right. Yeah. So when I say that philosophy isn't real, I'm not saying that all of it isn't real. I'm saying that it's sort of a clickbait title. It means that in general, philosophy, if you use philosophy to justify something that's wrong, because things need to be justified based on the real world and not. based
You
on
understand that the
conjecture.
process of justification involves philosophy, right?
Oh my gosh, that's. I didn't say. Okay, so let me just clarify again. I don't think that all philosophy is like just inherently wrong. What I do know is that you can't use
What do you mean by wrong?
philosophy. What do
Yeah,
you
that's
mean?
a new
I'm
rabbit
just
trail.
confused. I'm just confused by the words you're using.
Okay.
Philosophy is wrong. What does that mean?
Okay, so basically, when you
Can you imagine
use
if I said
philosophy-
geology is wrong? That wouldn't really
Okay.
make sense.
Well, that's not a real comparison because like geology is like.
I'm
an
not
actual
comparing
science.
geology to philosophy. I'm just saying when someone says something like that, if someone said like anthropology is wrong, and I'm like, what does that even mean? Like I can't
Well,
semantically deduce
so
what you're trying to say.
So it's sort of a hyperbole, right? I don't actually think that all philosophy is wrong.
I don't
just
even.
made-
I don't. No, I understand what the hyperbole is.
Okay.
I just don't know what it means for philosophy to be wrong, to whatever extent you think it is wrong.
Okay. I'll go into an explanation. Okay. So basically, most conclusions that people make using philosophy, if they're not based on firm, fundamental, real things that we can observe, the conclusions just generally aren't true.
Like, give me an example of this.
Okay, so for example, this is a common sort of logical thing that people use in philosophy. Is okay, so birds have feathers. Therefore, since this thing is a bird, it has feathers. Well, the thing is just because all the birds we know of may have feathers, that doesn't mean that there can't be a bird without feathers, right?
Right.
So just because birds have feathers doesn't mean that just because it's a bird, it has feathers.
Well, no, it does mean that.
Well, no. I mean, I
Well,
just
if you
explained to
state
why.
if you state all birds have feathers, if you don't
if
mean
all
all
birds have
birds or
feathers.
just some birds,
Well, if I
which
say
one is
all
it?
birds have feathers, and then somehow there's a bird which doesn't have feathers, which comes along, well, then
And it's
now
not a
it-
bird.
now- well, no, then the original statement was wrong.
Yeah. Either it's not a bird or the original statement was wrong. Well, what is
it
interesting
was-
about this?
So the original statement was correct at the time which it was made, but now that there's new information which has been revealed, now it isn't true anymore.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
you're
How does
speaking
that
like a priest right now.
disprove philosophy? I don't get it.
Because when you say that this thing is true, just because this thing is true, you're not accounting for the fact that there might be unknown information which could make the conclusion incorrect.
Of course, but that has nothing to do with philosophy includes systems and models. Like that's just inductive reasoning. But inductive reasoning is a branch of philosophy. Like it's part of the process. I don't understand what it means for philosophy to be wrong, just because you
Okay.
can have an inductive inference where the conclusion, the
Again,
truth of the conclusion isn't guaranteed by the truth of the premises. That doesn't demonstrate that philosophy is wrong. That's a feature of the system.
yeah, so basically, let me just be more clear. Okay, so when I said philosophy is wrong, I don't mean all philosophy is wrong. I'm just saying the way it's used to justify things which cannot be observed, that's the wrong part. If we try to
But the
justify
example,
something which can't
the
be
example
observed
is
wrong.
what do you mean justify something? Well, when we
Okay,
say birds have feathers, this thing has feathers, or all birds have feathers. This thing is a bird, so it must have feathers, right?
Okay.
What about that is wrong?
Oh, what's wrong is that just because all birds currently have feathers, you might have found something that contradicts the previous statement.
Of course, but what does that have to do
You
with like
just-
the inference?
What does it have to do? Well, then it shows that the inference isn't realistic, and actually, I would argue.
No, it means
all
that
of this-
that one of the premises wasn't true. It doesn't mean that the inference is. I don't even know what it means for an inference to be realistic.
what you said is a syllogism, right? The first premise is that all birds have feathers. The
Yeah.
second, the minor premise is that this creature has feathers. Sorry, this is a bird, and therefore the conclusion is that it must have feathers. Correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
So you've just stated a syllogism which is valid. Or the inference makes sense, right? That's what we
Yeah.
say in philosophy.
Mhm.
You're not now, if new information comes to light, we can object to the premises. We can either say that this creature doesn't actually have feathers, or we can say birds don't necessarily have feathers, or we can say that there are more facets to being a bird than simply having feathers. But all
Okay.
this is accounted for within the context of philosophy. So
Yeah,
I
so-
think you're just making a mistake in your example. I think this example is not valid.
I'll
Well,
bring this.
I want to bring it. So something. So we agree that something can be logical but not true, right?
Of course.
Yes, we agree.
Alfred,
Okay. Well, things can also be true but illogical, correct?
Depends on what you mean by illogical, I guess.
So, for example, John believes that we should.
You can have an invalid. If you can have an invalid. You can have an
Okay.
invalid
true belief can have
inference
an
where the conclusion is true.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean.
So, for example, I'll just give you an example of something that's contradictory,
I'll-
right?
I'll-
That sort of
I'll
breaks the
phrase-
law of non-contradiction.
Alfred
So
is
John believes that we should save lions, but John also believes that we should kill all the lions. Okay. Well, John has a contradiction because John believes both that we should save the lions and that we should kill the lions. That's a contradiction.
I'm gonna be ultra pedantic. That's not a contradiction. What you
I
want to
mean-
say is John wants to save all the lions, and he also doesn't want to save all the lions.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. If you want to be pedantic about it, we can do that. Or
Because
let's say-
someone could say, I want to save all the lions, and what that means is like I want to save them from the suffering of their natural lives or something. Like, you know,
Okay,
I'm
okay.
just but for the rigorous, because we're doing
Okay,
formal
okay,
logic, so
okay,
let's
okay.
be a little bit.
Yeah, it's fine. Let's say John wants to not kill the lions, but he also wants to kill the lions, right?
Right.
All the lions, right? Okay, well, John can believe both of those things, and we know that there are irrational people.
Right.
And so, that's a contradiction that he holds in his head.
Right.
So that's so we can have contradictions in the real world. Same thing with Schrodinger's cat, but I think you
No,
could
no, no,
probably
no,
dispute that.
what- It depends on what you mean.
Schrodinger's
When you
cat
say
is
we
not
can
a
have contradiction in the real world, I don't think contradictions can obtain. But I guess one could believe contradictory things.
There are no contradictions that we can observe. I mean, we can observe some contradictions, but it's usually a fault in our observation. Schrodinger's cat is not a contradiction. It just states that the cat is considered to be both dead and alive until such time as its death or aliveness is verified. It's not a
Actually,
contradiction.
that's an interesting example you bring up. That example is like thoroughly bastardized because Schrodinger's point wasn't that the cat would be dead and alive at the same time. That example, he used that example to demonstrate how absurd the model is, because you would have to accept that it is both dead and live at the same time, and so that would lead to like an absurd conclusion. But
Fair
in
enough.
in modern, like the way this anecdote gets spread around, I don't know how this became a thing, but everyone says this. Everyone says, yeah, Schrodinger's cat. It's this thing where the cat is both. No, Schrodinger's entire point was that it's absurd for the cat to be alive and dead at the same time. So the whole point of the analogy was to reject the conclusion of the Copenhagen model.
Hmm,
Yeah, that's true.
that's interesting.
Alfredus, do you
But
mind?
anyway, go ahead with the example. That was just
Alfredus,
that's
do
just
you
an
mind?
aside.
Do you mind, Alfredus, if I help you?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
All right. So I think what Alfredus is trying to say is that we have to understand the limits of logic, for example, right? Logic, you could even say logic is a branch
Mhm.
of math, but we have to understand the limits of logic. That, for example,
Yeah, exactly.
right.
So I don't think that all philosophy is wrong. I never said that. The title's a bit.
I know.
of a
I don't understand why you keep repeating that. Nobody thought you
Mhm.
said that.
Okay,
I just
okay.
I just don't understand what it means for philosophy to be wrong.
Well, basically what I mean is that if it's incongruent with the real world, right? So for example, if I said all penguins have polka dots, therefore this is a penguin, therefore it has polka dots, right? It's logical, but it's wrong.
Yeah.
So that's basically my argument. So sometimes philosophy
But
can be
logic,
wrong,
but that's
or
not.
logic can be wrong.
That's like the most ridiculous way of like trying to explain how the sentence philosophy is wrong makes sense.
I'll-
Philosophy doesn't say that this is true, so I don't understand how it could be wrong. What the philosophical tools are giving you, what they're giving you is an ability to make inferences. Now,
Mhm.
the inference rules and the inferences themselves, they're content agnostic when it comes to the validity of them. What you want to do is like examine the soundness, like the truth of the premises. That's something you might need to do like empirical work to find out. It's- Philosophy just provides
Can I?
the formal framework. Like, hey, if this is true and this is true, then this must be true.
Yes.
It's completely content agnostic.
Okay,
Mm.
Alfredus, again, do you mind if I continue? If I try to help you some more?
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so Hiwa, could you make a statement that is true? Yes or no?
If I can make one, sure.
Go ahead.
Oh, I thought okay. I have a fan blowing in my room.
How
I
do
mean, yeah, you could make a statement that's true or false. Yeah, sorry, I thought you were talking to
No,
Hiwa.
it's not true. You cannot. And let's go. Let's prove it. So Hiwa, you just made a statement. So there is a fan blowing in your room. But
Right.
is it true?
Yes.
But you might be dreaming, right? This might be a cosmic dream that you're in, and there is no fan, right? So again,
Yes.
I'll ask.
As far as I know, it's true.
Oh, so you modified your claim. So it's a different claim. But so you see that the statement you made is no longer true. And we can
No, it's still true.
we can continue. We can
Well-
continue. It's an endless rabbit hole, and I will forever be able to show that you cannot make a true statement ever, 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 never,
What?
never, never, never. Go on. We can continue.
How does this debunk philosophy? I don't understand.
Because
You're
Can I
talking
make a
about
comment?
whether or not I should.
there are
You're talking about whether or not I can trust my senses,
no.
which is also a philosophical matter, by the way.
Fine. Look, you right. What is?
What do you mean, fine?
No. Hold on. I'm with you. I'm willing to change my mind. Don't
All right.
worry. So look, right. We're talking about that branch of philosophy called logic. So in logic, you need a premise. You need a statement that is true. For example, right? You start from truth and whatever.
For a particular kind of logic, yeah.
Okay. So I mean, but there's no statement you can ever make that that you can force me to agree to even understand.
That has nothing to do with anything.
No. I mean, but go on. Make a statement.
Logic just means if this is true and if this is true, then the third thing must be
no-
true.
but no
At least if you have a deductive inference.
But no statement can ever be true. Ever. Never.
Well, that's false and
But you
irrelevant.
But if you cannot make a truth statement, then the whole.
Why couldn't you make? I don't know. Why couldn't you make true
I
statements?
asked you to make a true statement. You failed.
Hold up.
You-
Hold up. I have.
Why
I have a
couldn't
que-
you?
I
why
have a
couldn't you make
question.
true
I have
statements?
a question,
I don't understand.
Mr.
You-
Slave. Is it true that you can never make a true statement?
No.
You made the dumbest argument in the history of mankind, Mr. Slave.
Yeah, I don't
okay?
understand where you're going with this at all.
Let me.
Yeah,
So
I mean, I like admitted that this whole thing is a clickbait, and then you're actually trying to argue that philosophy isn't real.
You stepped into something that I've been thinking about a lot. I'm sorry. So
Well, apparently
It's
not
okay.
enough, my guy.
RC.
Are we
Because-
just like bullshitting, or
RC.
Yeah,
was there some
like,
serious inquiry going on?
I just my argument is just that most philosophical theories aren't grounded in reality. My argument.
But
had
I don't know.
nothing to do
I
with,
still don't know what
like,
that means.
Alfredus, I'm taking.
Give me an example of a
Anything
philosophical theory,
think-
quote unquote, that's not grounded in reality or something like that. I
Okay,
don't
so
know.
basically, most of
Platonism?
the arguments that people make for like why there must be a creator god, just for example,
But that's
because they're
Oh,
because they're based off
no,
of
no, no. Okay, okay,
premises,
okay. I think I understand what you mean. You're saying like most views in philosophy are wrong.
Yeah, I'm not arguing that the laws of philosophy are wrong. Even though they are presumptions, I don't think that like I for example, the law of non-contradiction. I could imagine there being something that, is contradictory. So
Yeah,
like
there's an entire logic around that called dialecticism.
yeah, exactly. But that's not at all what I'm
That's
actually. But that's not at all actually what I think. I'm just saying when I say philosophy isn't real, it's kind of clickbait. I just
get-
mean that a lot of theories that people make using philosophy aren't true. Not that the whole.
No.
field
I
is
think
true.
I understand what you mean. You just mean like imagine in ethics, right? Ethics
Yeah.
is a branch of philosophy, and in ethics you have these various like meta-ethical positions. You have, you have moral realism. You have like natural realism. You have like divine command theory. You have expressivism. You have error theory. You have ethical subjectivism, and all. What you just mean is that
Do you mind?
most of these views are wrong, and that's probably going to be trivially true. Like only one of these views at any time could be the correct one. Most of them are like mutually exclusive.
Yeah. It's actually a very simple.
But that's so
split.
trivial. That's so trivial.
Wait a minute, hold up.
Wait.
Can we revisit Mr. Slave?
Yes.
Because like
yeah,
I
because
work
Mr.
for
Slave actually thinks that it isn't real.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
a bit
because
different than my
you guys-
position.
Yes.
you guys are having
His
a
thing,
wonderful
his thing was
discussion,
spicy.
Yes.
but Mr. Slave. So
no. RC,
just to confirm,
no.
do you believe that?
Mr.
Hold up,
Slave.
chill it, Mr. Slave. Just
RC,
chill out.
You asked me a question.
So question
and
for
you
you.
cut me
Jesus
off.
Christ.
Question for you.
You asked
Question
me.
for you.
You asked me.
Is it true or false that the phrase "there are no statements that are true" is that a true or a false statement?
It's undefined. Your question is undefined,
All right. Okay.
right? It's
I'm being trolled,
as I started
but-
demonstrating.
False proposition, bro.
Look, as I started demonstrating, there's no statement you can ever make that is true or false.
Okay, is that a true or a false statement?
It's neither. It's undefined.
Wait.
He's a
Well,
So you
then I
don't know anything. You don't know anything. Okay.
Yeah,
good
he's a
job.
non-realist.
Look,
Yeah, I'm
He's-
not from around here. Yeah.
He's a non-realist.
Mr.
So are you a solipsist? So, Mr. Slave, are you a solipsist?
no. I'm just saying. Look, we.
You don't know if you're a okay. This is the true solipsist.
Hey,
He doesn't
hey,
even
hold
know
up.
if he's a
But
solipsist.
Even if he did know, he doesn't know if it's a true statement.
You
Then
gotta
he's a
let me.
solipsist or
You
not.
gotta let me finish.
He doesn't know if it's true that he's a
You
solipsist.
gotta let me finish making statements. So
Got
This
to
is
is a
like
strong
this
phrase.
is the ultimate solipsist way of
Okay.
thinking.
Alfredus, let me just
This
finish
is like
and
the
then.
final form of solipsism.
Alfredus, let me finish and then if you want, I'll leave. I don't have a problem. But I'm recording
I'm
this.
not gonna leave, man.
What?
I'm not gonna leave, man.
No, do you
I
want?
just think this is all very funny.
No. If you want, I will leave. Let me just make my concluding remark.
No. You don't have to leave. You don't
You
have
don't
to.
have to
You don't
leave.
have
You
to
don't
leave.
have to leave. I think it's
Mr.
funny.
Slave, I'm going to go on mute, and I want you to tell me whether your statement "there are no true statements" is true or false.
Gladly. So as I said in the beginning when I asked Alfredo.
Just answer the question.
Yeah, I'm trying. Just don't interrupt me. So as I said to Alfredus, let me help you. And the first thing I said is we just have to understand the limits of logic. Logic is not people think of logic and math as these perfections, as these absolute truths, and they're not.
But Mr. Slave, I already see you making certain missteps. The problem isn't our logical limitations. The problem is our epistemic limitations.
No.
And that's what I don't think you understand.
No. And we could even use the incompleteness theorem. There are no complete systems, so logic cannot be a complete system. Try as we might. There are no complete systems, so
The problem's not whether it's complete or not. It's whether it's sufficient to the task at hand or not.
no, there's many ways we
Good point.
there's many ways we can deconstruct logic and math. But the point is, people
Oh,
worship
boy.
these concepts as if there's some perfection, some godly, some cosmic perfections, and they're not. These are limited tools, and we have to understand the limitations. That's all.
No, and I think we do. That's the point. I'm a fallibilist, right?
Fine.
I understand I could be wrong about things, but to take this extreme skeptic approach, I just don't think it's warranted.
No. I'm not. I'm the same as you. I'm just saying. I'm just letting you know. Like, if you want the absolute truth, then I cannot give you. It's unknowable. We have no access to absolute truth, and that's the way it is. That's the nature.
All that means is, yes, we don't have access to the ontology of things
I'm gonna
based on our epistemological limits. That's all you're saying, which
Nah.
which anybody, I think, it reasonably understands that.
I'm sorry, Cromwell. You're making too much sense right now. I need Mr. Slave to defend his indefensible statement.
Look.
I had a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Slave.
Now, if
Reminds me of Mr. Garrison from South Park.
in the pursuit of absolute truth, where we want to say when certainty runs out, or let's say Gödel's mathematical laws, or not laws, but mathematical principles and models runs out, and we get to the edge of comprehension by any stretch of our cognitive function, we start calling that truth. We start calling that certainty, even though there are things beyond it. So by having the observation that there are true limits and limitations to the best of us, to the brightest of us, or whatever we write out mathematically, that's a very true and astute observation, and that's fine. How do we apply that? You're saying something reasonably objective, or to as true as it can be, that there are limits in how we view reality. There are limits, and there are truths beyond our reach or beyond our comprehension. That's a fact. So now what? What do I do with that?
I mean,
That doesn't undo concepts.
no, we have to be aware that we're biased towards this specific reality that we were born into, this jail that our brains live in. We just have to realize that's it. Okay, just realize we're biased. We're not objective. Objectivity is inaccessible.
Well, sure, but then we play a song and dance where I'm going to fail, but I'm going to try my very best and have a really
No. Wait a minute. You're already equivocating. I'm sorry, you're equivocating between objectivity and ontology. Those aren't synonymous.
No, but
I'm not familiar with
Not you, Andy. Mr. Slave.
What is
Mr. Slave?
Ontology is the story that we tell. Right? Ontology is
No.
What?
That's not what ontology.
So I'm not familiar with these terms. What is ontology?
Ontology is like
Why are
the
you
true
saying that
nature
the
of things
stories
as
that we
they
tell
are.
then if we are not like you're not familiar with this term?
No, ignore what I said. I retract. So what is ontology, please?
Bro.
It's what would be the true nature of things if we had access to it.
If we keep trying
but
to
truth-
have
No. Truth is unknowable. Truth is unknowable.
But if we did know
No,
the
that's not.
truth-
Again, that's not true. True is what we define. Look, like I hold the correspondence theory of truth, and as far as I'm concerned, that's as close as we can get to like the state of reality as we can understand it.
Then
Right?
that's a specific truth.
Yeah. So to me, it's true that 2 + 2 = 4. Right? That's a true statement.
It's
Right? Truth corresponds to propositions, not to objects.
as I said before, it's a rabbit hole that we can go, but it's important that we at least try and begin to go to this rabbit hole, into this rabbit hole, just to see how deep it goes. Like just
It's not everything is a rabbit hole.
everything. is
Look,
true.
I understood philosophy very poorly
Fine. What
when I
is
first got to this server,
Chrome? What is not?
but
Give me an example of something that is not a rabbit hole.
I'd like to accelerate
Go for hole.
Cromwell.
That's good.
Like if you want to toy with this gentleman, I will shut up. But I would rather accelerate this so we can go to more productive.
Just
conclusion
speak up.
later
I
on.
can just barely hear you.
Okay, I'm soft spoken because I like lulling you in with a Mr. Rogers comforting hug of a voice. Anyway, Mr. Slave, gentlemen in the room, are we going to entertain the goofishness of limited objectivity, limited truth claims, and limited parameters? How we're doomed to only have a glimmer in reality? Are we going to go to the maximal extension of what a truth claim can be because there are limitations? That's where Mr. Slave would like to take us. If we don't want to have that conversation, that's fine. And we could just swag YOLO, make fun of his approach, right? If we want to. What conversation are we trying to have here?
All right, wouldn't
One
be
based
bad
on
to make
evidence
fun of him.
is better.
I asked a question. I'll repeat the question. If Mr. Chrome can give me describe something that is not a rabbit hole. He said some things are not rabbit holes. Give me one example of something that is not a rabbit hole.
yeah, like there are things we can like ground out, right, and use as a grounding or a foundational basis and build on.
Give me an example. Just one
Right.
example. Let's refute.
Well, like I say, for me, it's correspondence theory.
Oh,
I build pretty much everything off of that.
wait. So correspondence theory is not a rabbit hole?
No, not to me, it's not.
So I'm not familiar with correspondence theory. I have to assume that
It's just the theory that what corresponds with reality is true. Like what we can describe as a state of affairs, any particular state of affairs, like it's true. You know, truth value changes over time, right? It's true that right now I'm sitting here smoking a cigarette. In 5 minutes, that will no longer be the case. It will no longer be true.
but you don't know that it's true because you might be in a cosmic dream.
Yeah. Well, man, Mr. Slade,
Again,
he does
that's entertaining that
because-
hyper skepticism, and I have no reason to
the
take
issue
that
is-
seriously or entertain that.
It's not
I have
the
no
issue-
reason to doubt that my
King.
senses are giving me some type of an accurate representation. You know, even if it is just a map, I recognize it's a map.
the issue
It lets me
the issue
navigate reality.
because you reject
Because
all
if I couldn't navigate reality, I wouldn't survive.
you reject all supernatural
Well, you're not
claims
gonna-
for your
Well,
correspondence
you're not
theory.
gonna survive, so I mean, that might
Based off-
actually.
See,
That's not what I mean, and you know that's not what I mean.
I know, but but you need to dig deeper into that right there. You can't handle reality, at least your existence can't. So,
handle the truth.
yeah, it's true. Like reality will destroy you, Chrome. So like now think about what the implication of that for what you just said.
Yes, I live within the constraints of reality. As far as I'm concerned, reality is the only true dogma.
Well, you're already biased, so your correspondence theory fails on so many levels because you reject the supernatural.
Yeah, something for which I have absolutely no evidence.
Well, except the fact that it's going to destroy you.
Wait, RC.
Begs the
Not
question: what is
No,
there?
he's talking
begs
about
the
the
question-
supernatural. Not,
Begs
no.
begs the question. Begs the question: what is there to destroy?
RC 1984. Are you satisfied with my answer? Because you asked me a good answer.
No, no, it was the dumbest statement. I've ever
There's a
heard in my life.
parameter problem, Mr. Slave. The way that you're demonstrating this thought concept is very entertaining, but you're skipping over like the rule book, and then we're beating you to death with the rule book because we're not engaging on the same plane. For an example, Cromwell smoking a cigarette, in terms of objectively with his physical monkey hands looking at a piece of tobacco in his fingers, is objective reality. If you say it could be a dream, we could brain in a jar, we could be a simulation, that doesn't make it any less true, because the concept of true is consistent, because we cannot tell the difference. If we were all plugged into the matrix, the truthness that we are doomed to experience isn't any less true, because of how we agree upon objective versus subjective parameters of reality. Put me in a jar right now, we're all in a jar together, homeboy. Guess what? We call that real. We are doomed to experience that version of reality. I could be zeros and ones. That's the mootness of the point. Reframe the thought experiment if you want to go there. Otherwise, we're just going to go nuh-uh and logic you to death. Try not to do that. Otherwise,
Yeah, which is ironic, because like you're making statements, Mr. Slays, as if they are true, and then defending them as if there is something to defend. Yet here you are insisting that none of this is defensible.
Look, all I'm saying is, I'm distinguishing between macro truth and micro truth. So the micro. Listen.
Who cares?
Listen. No.
If nothing's true, who cares?
No. Look, so in order to live life, we have the macro truth. We have this macro world. We assume that we're not in a simulation. We have many a list of endless assumptions that we in the society we all start from, and that's how we behave. But we have to remember that these are assumptions, and sometimes there's some.
We don't have to do anything.
Right. But Darwinism created us so that in general we ignore the assumptions. But sometimes we have to remember that these are assumptions, and maybe they are violated. And sometimes they are violated, and we have to become open to it. And that's all.
Sure. I accept that. It just the approach to this thought experiment is flawed. This is why people get butthurt and smack you around with logic or parameters of reality.
You might wake up from a cosmic dream, so it might happen. Yeah. So and then you have a good explanation. Oh, it was just a dream. Fantastic. Yeah, could happen, and you could wake up again from a dream, an endless dream. Yeah, could happen.
Absolutely.
One rabbit hole.
That's a cornerstone of Eastern philosophy. But when you start off with truth isn't real, people are explain it. Walk me through that. Alice in Wonderland garden.
It's just limited. It's just based on many assumptions. Sure. One of the assumptions is our language, right? The definition of language, the definition of definition, the definition of hello. I mean, so that's just a list of assumptions.
Sure.
Yeah. So just keep in mind that some of these assumptions, maybe all of them, are wrong. Just that's all. Just keep it in mind. Because it might be useful. That's all. If you want absolute truth, absolute truth is
it is smooth.
It's very moot. I would rather hear these talking points respectfully from Alan Watts and look at classic Eastern philosophy, understanding that we're one with nature, not separate from it, and then we wrestle with our part in the universe. It's very worthwhile thought experiments rather than everything you think about objective reality in the modern Western world is wrong. Go, fuck you. And then we just fisticuffs.
I belong to the Western world. I am a fully functioning human. So but it's macro.
Incorrect premise.
In the macro, in my
cap.
Anyway, I think everybody agrees with me, so I think.
No. Seriously though, but Mr. Slave, do you at least understand that what you're doing right now is engaging with philosophy?
It's in with
The
philosophy.
irony.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very important. It's very important to use philosophy, and philosophy is great. But yeah, I mean, sure. So what?
Well, you've been arguing against philosophy this whole time.
Yeah,
And now
using
you're saying that
philosophy
you're
to
using
argue
it?
against philosophy. I
Look,
mean, that's
I'll
the
give
irony
you-
I
look,
think that
look,
our
Yeah, no,
society is
did
enjoying.
you?
I'll give you
Alright.
so there's philosophy in general, and there's branches of philosophy. But I said only science is real.
Is that a true statement?
No, I already don't. I'll have to repeat myself. It's undefined.
Come on, RC, cut him some slack, man.
Look,
I'm
so
trying to help him out of this.
It's really
I'm trying
hard.
to help him out of this hole he's dug for
Yeah.
himself.
it's
All right, that's noble of you, Chrome.
I don't think you're allowed to repeat a joke. Anyway, so when the rooms
How about this? I'll do the edgy take here. Mr. Slave, it seems that somebody in your life ran the hard solipsistic script on
I
you,
was asked
and you kind of bought into that. You
was
kind of started like it started like crumbling your worldview down, and now you feel the need to do that to everybody else, even though not everybody else has crumbled the same way that you have.
wait, George, hold on. Chrome said you're engaging with philosophy after you said philosophy. I said philosophy is garbage, correct. But science is not. I only prescribe to science, that part of philosophy that is science, whatever. So science is okay. I said math is science and logic is science. Logic is a scientific theory because it's part of the math scientific theory.
Actually, it's not. No, logic is a philosophy. It's part of empiricism. I mean, yeah, I'm an empiricist too.
Yeah,
I
I'm
agree. I
empiricist.
agree
Yeah,
with
yeah,
that
exactly.
much, right?
Exactly. So as long as we're
Okay.
within empiricism,
But I mean, all of that goes along the lines of like correspondence theory, right?
fine.
Because to me, that's the most intuitive
That's fine.
model.
That's fine. But for example, if you talk to me about morality, then it's garbage. Is veganism moral? Is veganism ethical? That's a garbage statement. It's unscientific. I cannot do anything with it. So immediately, veganism, for example, is annihilated with 0 steps. That's the power of the way I view this universe. I don't need
Well, we do still have to wrestle with ethical considerations.
No, you don't.
But that's
because
I agree that that's completely outside the purview.
beauty-
Well, I think
no.
that's outside the purview of
Look at this.
science and
No, the beauty of my approach is morality, is ethics, is it scientific? If it is scientific, fantastic. Let's discuss it. If it's not scientific,
Does two pussy make one cunt, Mr. Slave?
all right, stop with the ridiculous. It's not even a joke. Anyway, guys,
How do you know it's ridiculous when nothing is real?
no, I didn't say it. Look, we defined realism.
yeah, but Mr. Slave, for what it's worth, look, for what it's worth, that's why I more or less went with the naturalist approach.
Yes.
Because it does explore more than just what like science and empiricism can tell us. It gets into like natural morality, natural philosophy, natural rights, this, that, and the other.
Yes.
It engages with a lot of other things besides just pure empiricism.
Look,
Empiricism is certainly important to it, but it's not the only tool in our toolbox,
Let
so
me-
to speak.
let me add something. So, for example, when I debate people that believe in God, well, God is an unscientific theory, right? God, for example, doesn't have a body, so he what do you call it? Has no body. Anyway, but that's right. So, by definition, God is immeasurable. So, God is unscientific. Poof. God is garbage. God goes right into the garbage bin. I don't need to invest energy in anything in a debate about God. Immediately, God is garbage because if it's
Sure, but you've also excluded yourself from any conversations about weighing in on. You might be able to engage in ethics on some level,
no,
which
ethics are unscientific. That's the end of that discussion. I don't need to debate ethics because ethics are unscientific. Unless your definition of ethics is scientific, then we can debate it. But if it's unscientific, that's the end of the discussion. I don't discuss unscientific anything because it's garbage.
Well, then, okay, let me ask, because then, I mean, again, you're putting yourself in this very limited box.
Yes.
If you're going to only appeal to what would be considered the quote unquote hard sciences, and you ignore the quote unquote soft sciences like sociology, psychology, and this, that, and the other, on the basis that they're soft sciences.
No. I'm a sociologist before anything else. I'm primarily a sociologist at this point.
Okay, that's a soft science. That's not a hard
Soft
science.
I don't have a problem. I love soft science more than I think the soft sciences are actually harder than the hardest ones. I mean, physics is actually very weak compared to economics. Economics is much harder, but that's a different debate. The point is, I love all sciences.
Well, I mean, if you're going to stick to a strictly empirical approach, I mean, sure, economics is a matter, statistics and crap like that, sure. But that's not sociology in a nutshell. Sociology encompasses a much broader range, and it's largely based on like our best educated guesses.
It's fine as long as it's measurable, as long as it's perceptible. Then it's fine. I can deal with it. But if it's not, then it's garbage. So math, well, I can see. I can add my 2 fingers. 1 + 1 is 2. I perceived scientifically that 1 + 1 is 2. Terrific. Logic, the thing is itself, and and whatever. Logic, I can measure logic. Logic comes into play in real life, so we can test it. It's perceptible. Fantastic. But
Well, if you're talking about like analytic logic, I mean, there's a lot of different logical systems. That's the problem.
Fine.
There's not just the 3 classical laws of logic.
I understand.
I mean, yeah, that's the most classic. That's the oldest.
I never go into the laws of logic. I could care less about logic itself. I mean, I'm very loose with my logic. That's not important. But the power of my method is it saves me so much time in a debate. As soon as somebody proposes something, I either ask them or I ask myself, can I rephrase it as a scientific theory? If not, I mean, then a lot of the debate might be, let's try and phrase this as a scientific theory. If we can't, then it's garbage. If it's possible, then terrific. Then it's not garbage. And then we can discuss the actual, is it the truthness of the proposition. But if a proposition in debate is unscientific,
Well, I would frame it in terms of its merits or its flaws, but I mean, sure, either way.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Look, when people first hear this, they say, oh, it's a tautology and it's so dumb. But I refuted everybody, and I'm very happy. I mean, this took me years. This is the epitome of my accomplishments. I'm not a dumb person. I have a few accomplishments under my belt. This is one of my greatest accomplishments. I'm very proud of it. It took me many years to develop, and I think at this point, it's a very sharp tool in my toolbox. Anyway, thank you, everyone. It's recorded. If anyone wants to check it out, I'm gonna sign out. Thank you so much, Alfredus, for hosting me. Maybe he cannot hear. Maybe he left. All right, George and Chrome and everyone else who interacted. It's been terrific. Bye-bye. All right. So that was actually one of the best discussions I've ever had. It was really, really good to have. Very deep. We went all the way through, and I was allowed to speak. In the beginning, they made fun of me and they didn't take me seriously, but slowly they realized that they cannot defeat me, and it's true. Most of them didn't stay to the end to see me use my philosophy, my approach, to see how powerful it is, that's fine. It's recorded. You guys saw it. You can use it. It's very powerful. Try it. All right, everyone. See you next time.